Welcome to our video, Feminist Ideals, a Brief Overview. My name is Dr. Felicia Black, and I am an assistant professor in child and family development. And joining me today are SDSU's CFD students, Lauren Soriano and Maya Manis. And March has come upon us so quickly. And as you know, March is Women's History Month. And so we're here to talk with you about some basic ideas around feminisms and how to bring these ideals to our conversations with young children. So for this talk, we'll be focusing on ages 3 to around 6 years.
In this video, we will explain what feminism is and what exactly it means to be a feminist. Later on, we will walk through a few questions your child might ask and how you could answer them through a feminist lens. Dr. Black will finish off with an explanation on how you could apply feminist ideals in your life.
So before we can teach children to be feminists, it's important that we define what exactly feminism is. So in its simplest terms, feminism is a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation, and oppression. Notice how in this definition, there isn't anything that says men or women. So let's break this down a little bit further. It's important to distinguish sex versus gender. Sex refers to the different biological features of males and females. Gender, though, on the other hand, are socially constructed ideas of what it means to be a woman or a man. So sex is innate, whereas gender is taught. Let's go back now to our definition then on feminism, a movement to end sexism. Sexism is when a person uses sex as a point of leverage and power. So a feminist is a person who asks for the equality of all people, regardless of their sex. Now, here's where it might get a little complex. As I stated earlier, sex is an innate feature in all humans. Because of this, feminism, therefore, is a movement that crosses all social divisions. The fight against sexism intersects with other social issues. Regardless of one's race, faith, ability, or class, feminism influences everyone. So, while feminism can succinctly be summarized as the movement to end sexism, this is a movement for every single person. Sounds like a pretty promising movement to get behind, right? Well, hopefully now you have a better understanding of what it means to be a feminist. Now I'm going to go turn it over to Maya and Dr. Black to discuss why it's important that we teach our children to be feminists.
Thanks, Lauren. Now that we know what feminism is, we can delve into why raising future feminists is so important. A feminist can be any person, regardless of their age, sex, gender identity, or other characteristics. So anyone can be a feminist, not just women. And just as anyone can be a feminist, anyone can be affected by the inequity rooted in sexism. Also, the goal of feminism is to create an equitable world for our children. Equity is the recognition that each person has unique circumstances and that even if we're given the equal opportunities, not everyone has the resources they need to produce equal outcomes. In other words, we want to ensure that everyone has the resources they need to succeed. As children grow up, difficult conversations will arise. Being a feminist role model means teaching them to be open to participating in such conversations. We have to be able to talk about different things that affect us before we can produce any change. We can encourage our children to ask and answer questions about others' point of views and perspectives in order to learn about our community's needs. This is a crucial first step if we are to make any informed decisions that will combat sexism. In this next section, Dr. Black will explain how we can apply feminist values in some of the complex conversations that may come with our children experiencing or witnessing inequality. Let's start with a few questions that our children might ask. Dr. Black, from a feminist perspective, how would we respond if a child asked, "The girl said I can't play with dolls because I'm a boy. Why can't I play with them?" Or, "The boy said I can't play with trucks because I'm a girl. Why can't I play with them?"
Yes, when I was a preschool teacher, I got this question many times. And this question deals with issues and expectations around gender roles. We know that children learn best when they're able to play with materials and explore the world around them. Now, remember that toys and materials don't have meaning until we ascribe meaning onto them. So, who says that dolls are for girls and trucks are only for boys? Offer children the opportunity to gender bend and to play around with notions of gender expression. If a child asks me this question, I'd respond something like this. Well, in our family or in our classroom, we think that trucks and dolls are wonderful toys that both boys and girls can play with. Now, to follow up with this, you can plan a trip to the toy store with your child to scope out some materials that they might be interested in and encourage young girls to tinker around with blocks, Legos, open-ended materials, or loose parts items that they can find around the house. It's an inexpensive way to engage children for long periods of time. Work with them to take apart old technical items such as computers, radios, to see their inner workings. And for our boys, encourage them to explore materials that invite caretaking and creative play and expression. If you choose dolls, make sure that they are culturally appropriate. Pots, pans, large scarves, and fabrics are perfect for dramatic play. Invite boys to take part in helping to cook meals, do household chores, care for family members, and younger siblings or family pets. Now, we have to remember that these activities transcend gender, and these activities should be afforded to all children. And safety first. Encourage children to do what is within their abilities and always supervise. And of course, play with them. It's fun.
What if they ask this? Why does my classmate have two moms or two dads? And why does this bother some people?
Hmm. Well, this question deals with the various family constellations that exist within our society. And male-female partnerships within families is just one family structure. All family constellations should be honored and valued. Once again, check in on your own assumptions, values, and beliefs around this. And I've had this question many times, and I address it like this. Well, there are many types of families. Some families have two moms, two dads. Some families have one mom or one dad. And some families even have grandmas and grandpas, one grandpa, or even aunts, uncles, and cousins. And what's really important though is that they really love each other. They love each other very much and they want to take care of each other and keep one another safe, just like our family does.
What would you say to a black or brown child that said, someone said my skin looked dirty, but I'm clean? Why did they say that?
Mhm. I've actually had this question a number of times, and I have been questioned around this idea. And this deals with issues of colorism and race. Now, I can approach this in two ways: as a teacher caring for children, and as a parent of a now 27-year-old daughter who has had this um, issue come up in her own young life. And so in my classroom, as a preschool teacher, I was asked by a child to wash my hands right before lunch because he said that my hands were dirty and I needed to wash them. But I was just in the bathroom just a few seconds ago washing my hands and he had saw me in the bathroom. And so I had to answer his question. And so how did I answer? I simply told him that the color of that was the color of my skin and that the color wouldn't wash off. So we compared our hands and we noticed that there were variations across. And this prompted me to invite all children in the classroom, along with my teaching staff, to have time together for this hand washing experiment where we washed our hands, looked across, we sat down at circle time, we looked at our hands to know, let's see what we notice. What do we see? There was lots of conversation amongst the children and amongst the staff. And this sparked me to create an opportunity for the children to create the skin tone paint collection that matched each child's skin tone so that they could get the exact representation when they were painting or drawing. And we used only 5 colors: red, yellow, blue, black, and white. This was such a wonderful learning experience for the children and for myself as a teacher and caregiver and for the teaching staff. And it was also an important lesson in colorism, color theory, art, science, social studies, and even mathematics. So if you'd like a really good book to explore, which is the book that I used with this particular class, it's called The Color of Us by Karen Katz. So here I'm going to invite you to pause and think about how you might approach this question with a child from a feminist perspective. What would you say? What would you do? How would you help the child to talk back against these issues around colorism, gender roles, racism, using feminist ideals? Now, for these conversations, it's important for you to prepare your mind and prepare your heart for how you'd respond, either as a parent of the child, a family member, a community member, or a member of our society. Your answer could be grounded in ethics of care and racial and ethnic justice and advocacy. What words could you use? What words would you offer a child who witnesses something like this? What would you say? What would you do if your child experienced this? What would you tell them? How would you empower them to speak truth with understanding and understand that children are taught colorism, racism, sexism, xenophobia, etc.? And so as we wrap up, here are some points to remember when talking to children around these important yet difficult topics. Discuss at the level of the child's understanding. And also recognize and respect that children are expert theorists who are able to ask good, thoughtful questions, and they seek out answers to those questions.
Listen for the question in between the question. What is the child asking you? If you're not sure, ask for clarification. Something like, tell me more about that. Give yourself think time before answering the questions, even if it takes a few hours or a day to respond. You can say, let me find out more about that, because I want to make sure that I give you a good answer. It's okay to say that you don't know, but because you love them and their ideas, you're going to find out.
Understand your own values, beliefs, and stance around social justice issues. And high quality, culturally appropriate, and sustaining children's books can be your best teaching assistant. If you want some recommendations, check out the Caldecott list as well as the Coretta Scott King Award for award-winning children's literature. In this slide, you can see that we've provided some resources. As we said, that this conversation was a brief one about feminism, and there's a lot more that we can all still learn about. So we've provided some resources for parents to learn more about feminism, an article, a book, and a TED Talk video. Hopefully these can then help you branch out to see even more resources to expand, and you can develop your own beliefs and understanding of feminism. And as I also stated, children's books are an awesome teaching assistant when talking with kids. And see, here are some books on the screen that we would recommend for teaching and having conversations about feminism with your children. All right, that is the end of our presentation. I want to thank Dr. Black and Maya for your wonderful work on this project. And thank you all for joining us and viewing this presentation. Remember, we are all only human. The journey for social justice is not an easy or straightforward one. It takes time, intention, and lots of care. both the care for others and for ourselves. So on that note, take care and thank you.